Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud. Get it automatically. If you use the Stitcher app, we're there too. So you can search us there. You can like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. You can follow the show on Twitter at myfirstsketch or email me at josh@myfirstsketch.com. Philly Sketchfest is quickly approaching, April 19th to the 23rd, between the Sketch Comedy Film Festival and 4 days of live comedy. There are, by my count, 14 events with 37 acts with groups from North Carolina, Montreal, Toronto, Chicago, and New York, not to mention the best of Philadelphia. Tickets are available at ticketfly.com. Just search the keyword Philly Sketchfest. Now, with all of those events, we are looking for volunteers. If you have a free night or two between April 20th and 23rd and want to help out, head to phillysketchfest.com and fill out the Google form. One of the things that I want to do with this podcast, especially when I talk about comedy in Philly, is get outside the bubble of FIT or Good Good or Philly Sketchfest and illuminate a bit of the history of the sketch comedy elsewhere in the city. So I sent a group email to the Waitstaff, which brings us to today's guest is Eric Singel, currently a member of the Waitstaff. His first sketch was written in 2009 and plays with the idea of Hillary Clinton heading to Barack Obama's inaugural ball. It's a bit meta, so Alyssa Truskowski plays Jerry as the actress playing Hillary Rodham Clinton. Eric Singel plays another cast member interrupting the sketch. I give the stage direction, and all three of us play a couple little extra roles with cameos and group shouting. So let's go to the sketch. Two chairs side by side. Hillary Clinton sits in one of them. She is elegantly dressed for a formal event. She is drinking either from a flask or a series of those airplane-sized liquor bottles. You know, the kind you get on the airplanes, not as big as airplanes. Hail to the Chief will play. Hillary pulls out her phone and dials it.
Hello? Hello, who's this? What do you mean? Who's this? This is Hillary. Hillary Clinton. Hillary goddamn Rodham Clinton. Democratic senator from New York and soon-to-be Secretary of State for President Barack Obama. Bill? Hill. Are you trying to humiliate me? What do you mean, what do I mean? I'm in a limo on my way to Obama's inaugural ball, and you're somewhere else diddling Bambi, and probably Bambi's mother. How do you know she's dead? That's not funny. Well, okay, it's a little funny. But back to the point being, who the hell am I supposed to dance with? Bill, other than the Queen of England, I am possibly the whitest woman you know, and you have seen me dance. Nobody needs to see me dance by myself at a televised event. I don't trust these Spanx to hold all that together.
Another man enters the scene in some way that violates that we're in a limo.
Jerry.
Whatever happened to the good old days of Playtex Living Girls?
Jerry.
Oh my God, I've worked all my life to become a secretary. A secretary, for Christ's sakes. I'm a junior senator having a senior moment.
Jerry! Jerry, now we've talked about this. We can't be doing Hillary Clinton sketches anymore because Hillary Clinton is virtually irrelevant to comedy.
I am Hillary goddamn Rodham Clinton. Also, I'm in a sketch comedy sketch, and you have violated the parameters of my sketch comedy sketch stretch limousine.
Yes. Well, Hillary Clinton is going to be Secretary of State, and there's no comedy to be gotten out of being Secretary of State. I mean, who the hell can even name a recent Secretary of State?
Condoleezza Rice. And what about the brilliant sketch I wrote where Condoleezza Rice and Bush were fucking lemurs in Nepal?
And did we ever do that sketch?
No.
And do you know why?
Because you don't like me.
Well, yeah, Jerry, we don't. But that's not the reason. Condoleezza Rice and Bush fucking lemurs in Nepal is a hysterical concept. But we are the whitest sketch comedy group in the history of sketch comedy groups, and there's no way we can do political shit during a black presidency.
I'm white.
I'm white.
I'm not white, but I play white on TV. Why can't we do political shit during a black presidency?
Because none of us is black.
We're not?
Who knew?
Deep.
Wait a minute.
What?
What is all this negativity? It is time to roll up our sleeves. It is time to be the change we want to see. It's time to say, yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can do Hillary Clinton sketches.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can mock Barack Obama.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can wear blackface to carry a joke.
No, we can't.
It's immoral.
And illegal.
And just plain wrong. You know, funny thing about that blackface is illegal idea, I was doing some research on the very subject online this week, and it turns out that's an urban legend. There is not a single state in this country where blackface is illegal.
There's a long pause where they all look at her disbelievingly.
Hey, we missed our chance to do a Martin Luther King Day themed show, but you know what?
What?
February is Black History Month.
My Michelle Obama is going to kill.
And I am solid as Barack. Finally, we can do that George Washington Carver sketch I've always been meaning to write. Found a peanut, found a peanut, found a peanut just now.
I'm Hillary goddamn Rodham Clinton, and I approve this message.
Hey, Eric.
Hey.
So where did this come from?
Where did this come from? This was my second show with the Waitstaff.
Okay.
Are you okay?
It's not the first.
No, the first show was an abnormal Waitstaff show. None of the regular Waitstaff members were around and able to do the show. It was the Fringe show of 2008.
Okay.
And so what they did was had a bunch of people come in and do comedic monologues. Mm-hmm. And I was the MC for that evening.
Okay.
So that was sort of off the beaten path Waitstaff show. So this was my first normal Waitstaff show that was going on.
All right. So tell me a little bit about the Waitstaff, because I know almost nothing about them.
The Waitstaff started, and I'm going to get all of these dates and times wrong because I was not there when it started.
Well, that's fine, because you're the only person on the wait. I sent a mass email to the entirety of the Waitstaff, and you're the one that responded. So you have to speak
so
for
whatever
them.
I say goes,
Yes.
Waitstaff.
Yeah, you are Waitstaff gospel at this point.
The Waitstaff started out somewhere in the beginning of the 2000s. I'm not entirely sure when.
Okay.
There were all numbers, probably 16 people in the troupe at that point. A lot of people had were more on the writing side. A lot of people were more on the performing side, but everybody did everything. And for quite some time, they did an original hour to hour and a half sketch comedy show once a month.
Now, that sounds very daunting. I know it's not atypical, because I know like the Groundlings do that, and well, the Groundlings are the major ones because they do weekly, like hour. So, but like even now, just thinking about getting together with the same group of people every month and doing a new show and a new hour or so, that's
Is
too
a
much.
lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
And these are all people, of course, who have daytime
Yeah, because
gigs
this
and
the
you know,
waitstaff would not
the
be the
waitstaff
full-time
was
job.
not paying anybody's mortgage.
No, which makes me even just like more scatterbrained thinking about it. So you mentioned this monologue show that you were the MC of, and then joining the troupe.
Then I got to join the troupe after
2008,
that,
2009-ish.
yeah. Right. So January of 2009 was the first show that I actually worked in, or the first sketch comedy show that I really worked in with them. And in terms of writing stuff, still everybody writes. The group by this point was down to 6 people,
Okay.
with a few hangers-on floating around the edges of it. And the Hillary Clinton sketch that we just did was the opener that I wrote for the sketch, or for the show. And there are 6 characters in it because we did it as an all-skate,
Yeah.
put everybody in it so that
Yeah.
set off it was the opener for the evening.
And you've been full-time waitstaff since basically for
Yeah.
whatever shows you guys are doing. I know you're not as active as waitstaff once was.
We are certainly not doing a show every month.
No.
For a while there at the beginning, we were doing probably 4 shows a year.
And during your time, where would they've been? Like,
We've worked at the World Cafe Live. We've worked at Helium. We do a lot of work at Latage now. We have performed in every single Fringe since, I'm making this up, but I want to say 2003.
Yeah.
And that's one of our big successful shows every year.
And I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been before your time, just before your time, but the Waitstaff were definitely in the first Philly Sketch Fest. And
They did a few sketch fests. I don't think if I was in one, it was one.
Yeah,
and that's
because I know the first couple of years that they were involved. So how do you get to the Waitstaff? How do you? I mean, you mentioned that you do other theater. Like, how did you find out
my
about?
Background is totally in theater, and my friend Jerry, who played Hillary Clinton in this sketch. We've been friends for years prior to the Waitstaff coming about. And I don't know how she got into the Waitstaff, but she was in the Waitstaff, and when they had an opening, she said that
she went
needed
to
to be in the Waitstaff.
Okay, that's easy enough. So what's your performance history before the Waitstaff? Like,
and it continued. I mean, I also still do theater now, so I've done theater all over most of the little theaters in town, not any of the big,
right?
None of your Wilmas and your Ardens and all that.
But there's the little ones. Like I know there's one in Media. There's one in there's a lot of little there.
So if they've got $1, I've got a talent.
What drew you to doing sketch comedy? I mean, Jerry reaches out and said, "Hey, come join us."
She said, it sounded like fun, and I was by that point starting to create my own work anyway, writing my own stuff anyway, it took me years to get around to that. I don't know why. So that is, that was very attractive, and also the fact that it's a money-making venture. I mean, it's,
what kind of comedy were you into growing up? Like, what made you laugh growing up?
Old SNL, all the sitcoms of the day. I can't even think, to name names at this point. But
I ask everybody when we talk about Saturday Night Live, because Saturday Night Live is probably everyone's first entry to sketch comedy, at least as a. Who would be your favorite Saturday Night Live cast member?
Wow, there've been so many.
Yep, there have. Pick one.
Pick one. I would have to go old school and say Gilda.
Any particular reason why?
Well, for Saturday Night Live to begin with, but then also like I wore out the recording of her one-woman show.
The Gilda Live, or is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen the Gilda Live because, she died like 2 years after I was born. Like, if we want to age myself.
Okay, we're not going there.
and annoy everyone else. But yeah, like she seemed to be like, she really seemed to be like the first superstar, like the female of the female group, of the female three of the original cast. She was the first one that was really big.
Right.
I know Jane Curtin had kids and disappeared for a little bit, and then got into like the sitcom pipeline with Kate and Allie. Right? Is it Kate and Allie?
Kate and Allie, and then the other one, Third Rock. Yeah.
Lorraine Newman
lost her mind.
She did and then she started doing like voice acting and all that stuff, because when you listen to her talk about comedy now, I remember famously in one of like the Talking Head like documentary pieces that she never wanted to repeat a character. She wanted to show everyone how many characters she could do, even though a lot of them were the same voice, just in a different wig. But Gilda seemed like a superstar, even to a point where there's like a myth to her, and maybe partially because she died young, partially.
But even that notwithstanding, there just was something about, you just got such a feeling from her that, and there were many people on that show and many people elsewhere that are funny as hell. But you just got a sense from her that she was just a really good person. That there was just something about her.
And then you have characters like Emily Latella, Rosanna Dana and like all these other things that are just so different than what other people do. I mentioned this before, like, because I'm a huge Saturday Night Live nerd and I've seen like every documentary or everything about them. One of the, I think it was Lorraine told Sherry O'Terry and Molly Shannon later, like, don't worry what you look like on the show. You know, make yourself look like the goof, do whatever it takes to be funny, because you can look pretty at the end, which like has a kind of horrible like feminist twinge to it. But at the same time, like when you don't have the reservation of what you look like or trying to be the pretty one to be funny, like it gives you a whole nother avenue to keep going. Like, even though those three original were actually really gorgeous, beautiful people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And extremely funny as well. So what gets you into performing? Like in general, like, did you go to school to perform? Like, did you?
I did not. I've learned everything that I know in the school of life.
What was the first show that you did, like, professionally?
Professionally? God. I'm trying to think now, like, where I crossed that line.
Or even like your first real experience, like, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to say like high school plays don't matter or
no, I know
college plays don't matter.
But the first thing out of
like,
out of that realm, that I do know. I was Charlie Brown, and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Okay. The only thing I know about that show is just one person, like, and I only know that song, right? Is that from Good Man, Charlie Brown, or is that from one of the Charlie Brown specials? And the only reason I know that song is it was sang at Jim Henson's funeral. They sang it, and all the Muppet performers brought out their favorite Muppet to sing with them. Like, this is a really beautiful moment. But I could have sworn it's in that play. Let me look it up to double check. So I'm not
sure what you're talking about. So,
or maybe it's not what even it's called. I mean, do. All of this will be edited out. Okay, it's from Snoopy the Musical, not from
Snoopy the Musical.
Which
I don't know.
Whatever that is. All right, so never mind. That's all just me being stupid. Okay, so Good Man Charlie Brown, which I've never seen. What were you? Did you say
Charlie Brown? Yeah.
How do you get the lead and like?
You audition.
Because I always imagine
that was totally cold. I walked into a situation. I had directed the show in college.
Okay.
So I knew the show really well, and I heard this group of people were doing it, and I was then out of school. I had a day job in the corporate world, and I was like, I got to do something artistic or I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
So I went to an audition. It was the coldest thing in the universe because I literally knew no one in the community. I didn't know anybody in the room.
Was it here in Philly? Or?
Oh, yeah, it was here in Philly. And I auditioned, and I got Charlie Brown.
Because I always expect people's like first like scene to be like, yeah, I was just there, like, or like a minor role. So to get that first big thing to be the lead is like, all right, good for you. Now, as a performer, do you have like a favorite show that?
Whatever show I'm doing now.
There's nothing like historically that, or is there a show that you want to do, or a role that you want to do?
There probably is if I sat and thought about it, but it's not. There's no burning. Oh, I've got to do this or that. I'll take whatever work somebody has for me.
It's not like you have to play.
And find.
You won't feel fulfilled until you play King Lear or like.
I know.
Because I've heard that with a couple of like British Shakespearean actors that King Lear is like the grail for them to do. All right, so how do you balance being legitimate theater and sketch comedy? Like,
I don't see a difference.
You don't?
I don't. Well, I mean, sketch comedy, you're making things in shorter time. That's all. But it's the same work to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Because pieces that I write and pieces that I find funny in sketch comedy are very character based.
Okay.
For example, Hillary in this sketch. It's got nothing to do with her Hillary Clinton-ness. It's got to do with that she lost out a position
that she wanted,
and now has to go work for the guy that got the position that she wanted.
Right, which is
it's character driven.
And outside of it being the president and secretary of state, that's still an emotion that a lot of us could relate to.
Anybody can identify with that.
The one thing I know about the waitstaff is the what is it, Real Housewives of South Philly?
Real Housewives of South Philly, yes.
Were you involved in that time? Like, I don't know exactly when that started.
As a matter of fact, I directed the show that they first appeared in, which would have been shortly after this show. Sometime in the year 2009, I want to say. I feel like it was spring, but I'm probably pulling that out of my ass. And I directed that show. I wasn't in that show. I forget why. I might have been performing in something else, so I directed the show, but I didn't appear in it. And Sarah Carano, who is a very talented writer and performer with the Waitstaff, came to us with this sketch with these Real Housewives. You know, she had written this sketch of these women sitting in their housecoats and curlers on their stoops in South Philly. And she called it the Real Housewives of South Philly, and it was just one of the funniest things anybody had ever seen.
Because I don't remember which one I saw. There's a video of like a 10-minute clip online, probably on the Waitstaff's official YouTube or website or whatever, and it's clearly at the Helium, which I can't see as a really good stage to do sketch on because it just feels so narrow and cramped to me. But it's riotous, like the crowd's totally into it, like.
Well, we started bringing them back. If they didn't come back in the very next show, they came back the show after that.
Okay. Is there a lot of recurring characters within the Waitstaff?
There are. There are a lot of recurring sketches at this point, too.
Okay.
The Real Housewives recur. Speaking of Jesus, I do Jesus, and we do Jesus and Mary.
You did Jesus at the match game.
Yes.
In December, right? Okay.
Yeah. Jesus plays the match game, but Jesus and Mary, we did the first time Jesus appeared.
Mary Magdalene or Mary the Mother? Okay.
Mrs. Mary, Mother of God,
right.
To give her real name. Again, I'm so bad on time, but at some point there was a Christmas show. It had to have been Christmas of the same year that this happened. So it had to be Christmas of 2009.
Okay.
And I had this idea. I said, what if the show's called A Surprise Party for Jesus? A
Okay.
surprise birthday party for Jesus. So we frequently do a runner sketch, you know, where it starts the show off, happens again in the middle, and then happens to close the thing out so you can tell more of a story. So the story for that for the runner for that show was that Jesus' friends were trying to throw him a surprise birthday party, and how can you do that when he knows everything?
Right.
You know.
Like, it sounds blasphemous enough to annoy my family,
right?
But
Yeah, well, it would
innocent enough to me. Like,
religious people, but we try to keep them, you know,
not completely
so that we're not
irreverent,
horrifying everyone in the room. But that worked out very well. That was a very successful evening, and we've brought Jesus and Mary back a number of times since, because what they really are, if you boil them down, is this vaudevillian. She's like this old Jewish mother type doing the Borscht Belt shtick, and he's sort of straight manning and setting her up for all these jokes. So I mean, that's really what's going on in the sketches. But they come back, and you can put them anywhere.
Right.
In the most recent, our most recent Fringe Festival show, which was called "The Waitstaff Making the Fringe Great Again." Jesus and Mary had a talk radio show.
Okay.
And they wound up interviewing Melania Trump.
I was about to say, with those two characters, there's I mean, not that any other characters don't do this, but with Jesus and Mary, you can make statements about the current time, whether they be political. Like, it's a great character to point out hypocrisy or like there's I'm trying to remember there's a certain trope of, like, it might even be a meme at this point where Jesus just like, yeah, I've never said any of those things. Like, don't put those things in my mouth. Like, which you can do throughout all various comedy things. Like, it's still, people use Jesus' name to do all kinds of horrible, like,
Right.
awful things. Are there any other characters that the waitstaff generally employ?
The Real Housewives and Jesus and Mary are the two big ones. There's a Russian character that a really funny guy named Jim Boyle does called Yuri, and he's a fish out of water, is what he, wherever you put him, he never knows what's going on or what's happening.
Sure.
So he's come back a number of times, and Jim Boyle, whom I just mentioned, and Chris McGovern, who are the other two men in the troupe right now, also do a sort of dude and bro sketch where they're at a bar going on and on and on about their non-existent love lives and all that stuff, and we've had them come back a couple of times, but they don't have as much of an identity. They're just sort
outside of dude and bro.
Dude and bro guy.
So what's the current makeup of the waitstaff? Like, Jerry's the, like, I don't want to say she's in charge, but like, she's been there since basically day one, right? She has been. I don't know if she was there at the very, very beginning. Jim Boyle and Chris McGovern, whom I just mentioned, were in at the very beginning. Okay.
And if Jerry came along after that, it was very shortly after that. Sarah Carano, who's still involved, came a little bit after that. And as I say, at this time, there were all these people in and out and in and out and in and out. Now, basically, those four that I just mentioned and myself, and then a really, really tech guy named Ryan McMenamin, who's really a great tech person.
So it's
pretty much the makeup.
Down
of the
five
thing.
to
It's
six.
five or
point,
six
permanent.
folks. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why the waitstaff fascinates me so much. Whenever
Because we're
there's
mythic.
like, I don't know. When I got into comedy in the city, it was all fit. It was either fit for sketch or improv, and then Helium had just opened up as stand-up. Like,
Right.
But whenever there was other sketch comedy, like there was a group, High Drama, who did a fairly regular show in Fishtown. But when I've talked to members of them, I've mentioned that like Fishtown seemed like a world away from what we were doing at Fit or what was happening at Fit. Like, so any other group that exists outside the auspices of those regular alternative spots just feels just bizarre to me that like there's comedy somewhere else.
And
like,
the waitstaff predates Fit. So,
yeah, they do, absolutely. And I've
although
also
Fit is a well-oiled machine at this point. I mean,
it's
they're
gotten there, yeah.
grinding out all sorts of classes and.
I've heard that you've mentioned classes and segueing. I've heard that Jerry does a sketch comedy class at Drexel.
She does.
And that you have either sat in to help or...
I've been since 2008, 2009. It only happens, Drexel's on quarters, and it only happens one quarter out of the year. So I've been going to almost every class. Yeah, I've been sort of assisting her with that.
Okay, I went to a Christian college that I was studying film there, but I would have killed to have a sketch comedy class in college. And I think most everyone else that I've ever talked to would agree with that. Like Temple has Smash, which is their on-campus comedy show. And there's, I know Penn has the Bloomer. So tell me about this college class of sketch comedy.
Well, it's a really fun class, first of all.
I'd hope so.
Yeah, well, it is. And because, well, Drexel, of course, has no theater major, no performance major. If the kids there are studying to do something in the entertainment industry, it's to be like a filmmaker or some behind-the-scenes business person or whatever. They can't major in performance of any kind. So so these kids are taking this as an elective, and you get these engineering students with their slide rules and nuclear physics and this and that, and once a week they're coming in here to blow off steam and have pie fights and stuff. So it's really good.
The class to perform, or is it like a broad history of sketch comedy. Like,
Oh, no, it's not historical. The point of it is that by the end of the 10-week term, these kids will have split in, there's probably 15 of them in a class. They're split into 2 or 3 groups, and they will have written and be able to perform a 15 to 20-minute sketch set.
and do they?
And they do.
Huh. That sounds fun.
It's great fun. Yeah, and I mean the kids are very savvy these days because they're exposed to
Sure.
it on TV.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to talk them out of is, well, yeah, you can't cut away to that because
Yeah.
you're doing live.
You have to,
know?
yeah. All right. So we've talked about briefly, performing and stuff. So why comedy? Why has the Waitstaff still kept hold of you for the last roughly 10 years almost? Like,
It wouldn't occur to me not to go do that. I mean, now there have been shows that I haven't been able to do because I'm doing something else, of course. But I wouldn't stop doing that. I mean, there's nothing more wonderful. I mean, there's nothing greater than to be able to make people laugh.
yeah.
If you can make them cry, that's nice. But then you should make them laugh out after that, because or one or the other. No, it's just a thrill to be able to do it. I mean, and particularly with original material, that really feels incredible.
Yeah. And then my final question generally is, you've been doing this for a while and you've been performing for a while. Is there a piece of advice that you can give to a new comedy writer or something that you've learned from doing comedy that you could pass on?
In terms of performing, I would say you just have to be ready to make the biggest fool of yourself, and you have to be ready to fail.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to fail, then just sit down and don't bother, because things are not going to hit.
No.
Things are not going to go. But until you know what goes and what doesn't go, you have to be ready to fail. In terms of writing, I would say unless you're sitting there writing, as she is right now, you're not a writer. You're only a writer when you're writing. So sit down and write.
Yeah, that's something.
Doesn't matter what comes out. 90% of it's going to be crap anyway. So the more you write, the more 10% you have.
Yeah, that's something that I always need to tell myself, that I always need to have something writing, because I can call myself a writer, but my output is like anemic. It's awful.
Well, and Jerry says this at the beginning of every one of the sketch comedy classes. She says, I cannot grade you on whether your stuff is funny or not. That would not be fair or right.
Okay.
Because, to her, it might be funny to her, and might be
Right.
funny to the kid, but not funny to her. That doesn't mean it's no good. It just means it's not funny to her.
Sure.
So she says, I can only grade you on the fact that you have to turn in 3 sketches on this week, and this week.
So turn it in.
Give them to me. And then I back her up with, and you know how you write a sketch? Don't walk around waiting for inspiration to hit, because that ain't going to happen.
No.
Sit down with a pen in your hand, or sit down with your computer open and start making words come out, because the more words you have, the closer you are to a sketch.
That's I forget who it was, but someone told me, like, when I asked that question to someone else, they're like, overwrite, like, start with a lot, because you can always cut down and kill and kill and kill.
Oh, well, that's my big thing. As you can see by this, because I never did find any of the edited versions of this.
That's right. You said this was like a first
This
draft
was a first
original,
draft of this thing, and I know it was cut. I don't think the back and forth to the end was cut, but I think they cut.
Because there's
the monologue
that
down a great deal.
that first 2 paragraphs are daunting. Like, just me
Yeah.
thinking about like having to memorize that is just.
Well, it's not that I always overwrite, but I mean, memorization is not a big deal, but it's just a lot, and time passes as when you go and look at the recording, you'll see how much time has passed.
Yeah.
When she was reading it, and you can only go but so fast.
Yeah.
So then some words have to go away.
All right.
But I'd rather give people more and
yeah.
let them cut than not have enough there. So.
All right. I think that's everything I have. Right,
Very cool. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you for being
This
the
was
first
fun.
waitstaff rep. I'll tell the others.
Right. I did it, and I live to tell about it.
All right, thanks, Eric. You can like The Waitstaff on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWaitstaff, or check their website, which is simply thewaitstaff.com. Eric will be appearing on the one-man show Joan Crawford in Her Own Words, written by Michael McHugh and directed by Peter to Pizza during the 2017 Fringe Festival later this year. And don't forget, during Philly Sketch Fest at Thursday at 10 p.m., in fact, there will be a live edition of My First Sketch. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketch Fest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchFest. Also, for more information about comedy in Philly, head to watercooler.com. The music on this episode is by the band No No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com. Like My First Sketch on Facebook. This is Josh Hyam. Thanks for listening. Now go see some comedy.